This is part of a series I have called Recipes to Die For. In this story, a lot of people are arguing that we need to look into the witness protection program because of what some of these clowns have done after they leave the witness protection program or while they're in the witness protection program with their new IDs. I don't know what the stats are. I don't think anybody knows. A lot of people go into witness protection. My guess would be the majority have their money, they take their money with them, and they just disappear into the world. And I suppose there are cases like this one where the guy just wreaks havoc on unsuspecting communities. I don't know. I don't know. We don't have the stats to tell us. They're not released. But anyway, this involves this Arizona lawyer with a gambling habit, Gregory McClure. He was a gambling addict, and his former client was Frank Gioia, who was a mafia soldier within the Federal Witness Protection Program. He had been with the Lucchese family. The two of them got together and they orchestrated the collapse of this country-themed restaurant called Toby Keith. And they built people of $64 million in very little time, too. Joe was passing himself off as an Arizona businessman. He's still in the witness protection program at this point, calling himself Frank Capri. And what he did is he used restaurant licensing deals with country superstars Toby Keith and Rascal Flats to cut deals with developers to build restaurants. And then he'd walk away with all the money that was meant for construction. Developers were hot for this. I mean, I don't know these two gentlemen, Toby Keith and Rascal Flat, but I guess they're very popular in that world, and so they'd build these things throughout the South, and people would go on in, and they were excited to put them in their malls and shopping plazas, and they'd pay him to take care of the initial construction. Of course, he stole it from him. Joe was born in '67. He was the father. His father and grandfather were both members of the mob, made members of the mob. At age 12, he was hanging around social clubs, getting drinks for wiseguys, stuff like that. At 18, he shot a bouncer in a club who he thought disrespected him and another Lucchese guy. He was made into the family at age 21. Uh, his sponsor was George Zappola. I'm sorry, at age 24, October 1991. He had earned $1 million by then in drug deals. In June of 1992, he got arrested on gun charges. A year later, he got arrested on federal drug charges. He had effectively built a pipeline to run heroin from Manhattan up to Boston. He got 7 years in the can for that. And when he's in there, his cousin, Vincent Salanardi, came to him and they said, look, they're going to kill your father because it's a money dispute. The Lucchese's are going to kill him. So Gioi called the FBI. He says, look, I'll work a deal with you. I'll go into witness protection. I'll give you anything you want. But I need protection from me, my father, sister, my brother-in-law, my mother. So they gave him all new IDs and put him into the program. He was moved at that point to a special unit in a prison for witnesses, and he got into a huge fight with some guy over a use of a telephone. The guy was using too much time. I guess it's limited time on the phone, so Joe busted his jaw. He became essentially maybe the most important cooperating witness for the government. In 1998, in his first court case, Joe testified against Lucchese associate Baldy Mike Spinella and his brother Bobby Spinella. They were charged with trying to kill the sister of Lucchese informant Pete Chioda. In another case, he testified against his former drug partners, Ralph Como, who owned Ray's Pizza on Prince Street, a fairly well-known place. He indicated that Cuomo was making heroin deals inside the pizzeria, that they just happened to sell a lot of pizzas too, but it was essentially an office for selling dope. He testified that Cuomo had introduced him to John Gotti Jr. in 1992 inside a Little Italy social club that belonged to a Gambino captain, Joe Butch Corrara, Corrao. Joy testified against mobsters, drug dealers. It resulted in 80 convictions, including Lucchese family Louis Crosby Diona, Joseph Little Joe Di Feda, Lucchese captain Carmen Avellino, Boet Barata, soldiers Jody Calabrese, Frank Gileone, Frank Giacobi, Nicholas Fat and Nicky DiConsta, of course, and Rocky Vitullo. Gioia, did 6 years in prison. He got out early, and he got his new location and new ID, and he moved ideally to just disappear in the world. In the meantime, while he was outside the prison, he went to the FBI Academy, and he was giving lectures on how the mafia works to the recruits down there. So he built up a fake company And they, on paper, built 20 Kobe restaurants beginning in 2009. He announced plans that they would build 20 more, but they never opened. They immediately closed 19 restaurants in 18 months. This is in 2013. Even as restaurants went under, Capri, or Gioi asked Capri, he announced his plans he's going to open brand new ones, and those two, of course, never got built. From 2011 to 2015, what is that, 4 years, investors gave him, well, they gave his company, Boomtown Management, $12 million, almost $13 million, for restaurants that, again, never opened. From those funds, Capri Gioia spent $2.7 million on jewelry alone, and used the company credit card for personal expenses, including putting $250,000 a week on his personal Ameritrade account. By 2017, judges in cities all across the South, they ordered him to pay the company to pay $65 million in civil damages. It's unclear how many judges were paid or settled, but at one point, Capri Gioia was pocketing $250,000 a week for himself, up aside from what he stole or charged to the company. He was indicted by a federal grand jury for fraud, conspiracy, money laundering. He eventually pled guilty to one count of conspiracy and tax evasion. He agreed to pay $18 million that he swindled out of the developers. And in March of 2022, he was sentenced to 120 months in prison. McClure, his lawyer, who was really the architect of all this, who saw the big picture, how they'd get the money, how they'd bilk the money, how they'd get away from being sued for all this. He overcame his gambling issues. He got 6 months in prison. He repaid, or was ordered to repay, $1.3 million that he admitted stealing. And as part of the deal, he would cooperate with the government. He gave up his law license. He now lives in a trailer, and he works mending fences on a 22,000-acre ranch in southern Arizona.
See, I'm so fucking pissed off, I'm gonna pull out of the whole fucking job. You get another fucking contractor to go there and deal with your fucking bullshit. Because I paid all my subs, everybody performed. You trying to do that to me? Fuck you. You go get another fucking contractor.